Okay, so we're going to work on the letters B, P, and R, and it's clear why they're very similar to each other, but not quite exactly the same. I'm going to go ahead and do a outline out of these. So Control or Command Shift O. I'm going to ungroup them. So we'll do an edit object rather ungroup. And I want to be able to select these individually. Good. Select all of them. I'm going to make them transparent, either Command or Control with the Shift key and F10 will get us our transparency. We're going to make these 30% transparent. I'll zoom in a little bit more here. Maybe not that much. Okay. So let's see what these look like. First, if we bring in a guideline and we go to the bottom of the P, you can see across the board that the top bowl, or the only bowl on the letter P, is bigger than the top bowls on any of the other letters. It certainly dips down a lot more so. The other thing is you can see that the B's counter inside, its width is the same on the top and the bottom, but yet the bottom bowl's a little bit wider in the stroke out here. So that's a modification that's going to be specific to a letter. It's not something that you'll be able to give one big giant consistent stroke across the board and have it work the same way. So we'll have to tweak the B a little bit manually by hand. The R, we take the R and we bring it over to the B. They're closely related to each other, but you can see again that the top bowl here on the R dips a little bit lower down here than it does on the B. The P in here, like I said before, you can see that it goes way down. It drops really low. So the trick then is to figure out what's the most economic way of slowly working our way towards completing all three letters. And I'm going to go with the letter P. One more thing that's worth noting. The bowl on the top of the B dips down more so than the second bowl. And if I make a copy of this, you can see over here just how much more that top bowl dips over here. And you can also see the size variation there between the two bowls. But the counter space in here is clearly the same width. They are different sizes. The bottom bowl is clearly a lot longer, and it is probably more long than it is wide, although you can't really tell by looking at it. So for my purposes, it's going to be easier to worry about the letter P first, and then we'll go from there. So we're going to do a slightly different variation of how we're going to solve this. So let's go to our letter P. Basically, we're going to do the same type of setup. So I'm going to click on the whole letter. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go to the View drop-down menu, and I'm going to slide down to the Guides, and I'm going to make it into a Make Guide. And I'm going to paste in place, edit, paste in place. And I'm going to reverse this out so we can see the strokes a little bit better. And I'll go ahead and call up my strokes, Command or Control, F10, and I'll make my width in here 1 point so I can see what's going on with the stroke. Okay, so the outside stroke is what I'm interested in, and it looks like it could come up a little bit closer, and I can do all of this proportionally. The inside stroke is clearly not going to define the thick and thin what's going on over here. So my idea here is that if I go with a thinner stroke, I'm going to be okay. So I'll get into the specifics later on, but for now I just want to get into the building of the letter, so I want to take care of that as quickly as possible. Okay, so I want a halfway point somewhere between here of where the line is, and so what I'll do here is I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I'm going to ignore what's going on with the counter, and I'm going to bring this side over here to, and I'm just kind of eyeballing this to what I think is the halfway point. And that's probably good enough. I don't have to worry about accurate being exactly in the middle from where I started from. I'm going to be modifying this individually for each letter as well, so that's really going to be the larger issue. Now, this stroke in here, I'm actually going to want to bring in closer, so I'm not going to need these two lines over here at all, so I'll delete those. And I'm not going to need this line over here, so I'll delete that. And then what I can do is plunge these two together by clicking on here. And I'm holding the shift key down. I'm just dragging this out. I'm getting close to the neighborhood here. I'll do it on this one and let it snap to the point there. So just in case I'm not sure if I'm getting it, let me do an undo. What I can always do is select everything, go to my cursors, set my cursor so it's an even 10-point displacement. And while my strokes are selected with a cursor up, they move exactly 10 points. Then I don't have to worry about the guide getting in the way. I can grab this guy and then drag this over and wait for that to snap on that point. And once that snaps, I'm good. And I can select both of those and call Command J or Control J on a PC. And I'm joining those 2 points. So now when I click on this stroke, all the points light up so I know I've got it. And that's pretty much it in terms of doing the letter P. Um, the next thing that you may want to do, I'm going to put this back down with one cursor click so it lines up, is you may want to bring this stroke over here, take it up a little bit. So what I want to do is I want to select this point and I'll hold the shift and drag here. I want to select these points over here as well. So just the shift key down. So only the bottom curve is selected. And then with my cursors, because this is pretty much a straight line over here, I can nudge this up a little bit and get it closer to what the letter starts to feel like. So I'm going to go ahead and do a Command K again, and I'll go with 1 point increments. With my keyboard, I'm just nudging it up a little bit to get close to the original sense of what the letter P was. And again, once I get closer to finishing all the letters, I'll be able to come back to this one and modify it for me to work with. Now I am leaving this all the way on the top, and I've got a technique where I'm essentially going to build a mask around the letter, and then the stroke will be on the inside of the letter. But that's more of a specific process to each individual letter. But I will be doing some editing techniques in the last video, maybe have more than one video depending on how complicated the editing technique is. So now I've got my P over here. The next thing to do is to take this letter and move it over to the letter B and make a mod with this stroke in here and get it as close as possible to the letter B. So we'll do that in the next video.